The sun sinks behind the oil fields, but the tension rises like fire in the air. Cooper stands alone outside the old ranch house, his boots still covered in dust from a long day on the rigs. He isn't here for dinner. He's here for answers. Only Rebecca can give. And tonight, every word at that table will matter. Cooper stops at the doorway, breathing deep as the warm Texas wind sweeps across the porch. Inside, faint sounds of plates and silverware echo through the quiet house. Rebecca moves around the dining room with calm, steady hands, placing each fork and napkin like she has something to prove. She doesn't look nervous, but the stillness around her feels staged, too perfect, too controlled. The camera never shows faces. Only slow shots of hands, a close-up of the tablecloth, the flicker of a candle fighting the draft. Cooper steps in, his silhouette stretching across the floor as he wipes dust from his jacket. He pauses. His fingers tighten around the old wooden chair at the head of the table. Rebecca glances toward him without turning her full body, just a subtle shift of her shoulder, a tiny pause in her movement. She knows he's tense. She knows this isn't just another meal. The ranch house is quiet except for the low hum of the oil pump in the distance. It feels like it's counting down to something. Cooper's boots scrape softly against the floor as he walks closer. Rebecca places the last dish and finally speaks, her voice soft but sharp at the edges. "You're early," she says. Cooper doesn't answer. He pulls out his chair, sits down, and lets out a slow breath. The weight of the day still heavy on him. A storm of thoughts rolls through his mind. This dinner was her idea, a sudden invite, no explanation, no warning. Rebecca never does anything without a reason. Cooper taps a finger on the table, listening to the faint rattling of a loose window as the wind pushes against the house. Something feels off. Something feels hidden. Rebecca sets a jug of water on the table, her hand steady, her movement smooth. But Cooper notices the way her fingers hesitate for half a second, barely a pause, but enough to show she's bracing for something. He watches her closely, his eyes narrowing even though the camera never shows them. This isn't just dinner. It's a moment she's been preparing for, and he can feel it. The candle flickers again. The room grows darker. And Cooper leans forward, knowing the night is about to open a door neither of them can close. Deep silence settles over the room as Cooper finally reaches into his jacket. The candlelight trembles, shadows stretch long across the table, and Rebecca's hands pause in midair. She senses it, the shift, the reason he came early, the storm hiding behind his calm posture. Without a word, Cooper places something small on the table. It lands with a dull metal clink that echoes louder than it should, a pirate-shaped brass token. Old and scratched, lies between them. Rebecca's breath catches, not enough for anyone to see, but enough for Cooper to notice. Her fingers tighten around the fabric of her napkin. She hoped this little piece of her past would never surface again. Cooper leans back slowly, his silhouette framed by the dim lantern glow. "Found this in the Rig 29 files," he says, voice low, steady. "Care to explain why it was hidden?" The air thickens. No faces, only close shots. Rebecca's hand freezing above her glass. Cooper's fingers tapping once against the table, the candle bending in the draft, like it knows a secret is about to crack open. Rebecca slides into her chair, folding her hands carefully, as if arranging her thoughts the way she arranged the dinner table meat. Controlled, peaceful on the outside, but the tension spills through every movement. "That's just an old marker." She replies, her tone calm but too calm, like someone balancing on a rope. "A joke from years ago." Cooper doesn't buy it. "Funny how jokes don't end up in sealed folders," he says. His voice drops even lower, steady but sharp. "And funny how the pipeline contract fell apart the same week this token reappeared." The hum of the oil fields outside grows heavier, almost like the ground itself is listening. Rebecca looks toward the window, not to avoid him, but to gather herself. She presses the tip of her finger to the pirate token, turning it slightly so its single engraved eye points straight at Cooper. "You're digging in the wrong place," she whispers, but Cooper shakes his head. "Am I, or are you trying to cover the tracks of a decision you made long before anyone knew the deal was falling apart?" The table between them feels smaller now, the space tighter. The pirate token sits like evidence of something bigger, something she thought was buried. Rebecca lifts her hand away from it slowly, as though touching it brought back memories she'd locked away, and for the first time tonight, her steady voice wavers. Cooper, you don't understand what that token really means. Cooper leans forward, then explain it, but Rebecca stays silent. The pirate token glints once in the candlelight like a warning. And suddenly it becomes clear, this dinner isn't about food or comfort or peace. It's a test, and Cooper isn't. Sure, who's testing who? The room feels smaller now, tighter, as if the walls are listening. The candlelight shakes again, this time not from the wind, but from the pressure building between them. Cooper's hand rests close to the pirate token while Rebecca's fingers hover near her water glass, barely steady. Every second stretches. Like a long shadow across the table, Rebecca finally speaks. But her voice is softer than before, like someone confessing to a ghost, not a man sitting across from her. That token, it wasn't part of the deal, it was a message. She looks down, not because she's afraid, but because remembering hurts. Years back, before you joined the team, Rig 29 wasn't just an oil site. It was a battlefield of promises, threats, and people willing to play dirty. Cooper taps the token once. So this was a warning? Rebecca nods slowly. From someone we both know. Someone who wanted me to break that contract long before it was even written. The candle sputters, throwing quick, sharp flickers across the table. The visuals stay, faceless, only hands tightening, shadows trembling, objects shifting softly. Cooper sits forward, his posture rigid. Who? His voice doesn't crack, but something inside him does quietly, deeply. Rebecca doesn't answer right away. She folds her arms slowly, almost hugging herself. The lantern above them creaks as a gust hits the house, making the flame dance again. You're blaming me, she says, her tone measured, because it's easier than accepting the truth. Cooper's jaw tightens. Then tell me the truth. Rebecca lifts the pirate token with 2 fingers. The camera zooms in as the metal spins lightly, glinting in the dim light. This symbol means betrayal in their world, she says. Not mine, I didn't collapse the contract. I was trying to protect it from the person who sent this. Cooper is silent. For the first time tonight, he feels the ground shift under him. He expected excuses, maybe lies, but not this. You're telling me there's someone inside the operation? He asks, his voice barely above a whisper. Rebecca sets the token down gently, like placing a final piece on a chessboard. Inside. Outside, around us. Someone who knows every move we make it. She looks up, only the camera doesn't show her face, just her hands tightening into fists. And if they sent this token again? It means they're already ahead of us. The room grows colder. Cooper leans back slowly, the weight of new danger settling on his shoulders. His voice drops even lower. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Rebecca hesitates, her thumb brushing the edge of the table. Because I didn't know if I could trust you. The hum of the oil fields grows louder, almost like thunder rolling over the land. The candle flickers once more, and for a moment, the room sinks into deeper shadow. 2 silhouettes sitting across from each other, both holding pieces of a truth too dangerous to speak out loud. And just as Cooper gathers his next question, Rebecca whispers something that freezes him in place. The person behind that token is someone you worked with. The words hang in the air like smoke from a slow-burning fire. Someone Cooper worked with. The thought hits him hard enough to stiffen his shoulders, but the camera shows only his hand gripping the edge of the table, knuckles turning pale under the dim light. The room grows heavier, thick with unspoken names and old shadows. Outside, the wind pushes against the walls, as if trying to warn them both that the night is far from over. Rebecca reaches underneath her chair. Her movements are slow, controlled, almost ritual-like. She pulls out a thin envelope, plain, unmarked, but swollen with secrets. She places it in front of Cooper with the same care one might use when placing explosives. The candlelight trembles and the envelope casts a long, sharp shadow stretching between them. Cooper doesn't touch it yet. He just stares at it as though it might breathe. What's inside? He asks quietly. Rebecca leans back, exhaling a breath she's been holding for far too long. Everything you think you know. and everything you've been blind to. Her hands fold together tightly, the tips of her fingers trembling not from fear, but from finally letting go of a burden too heavy to carry alone. Cooper slides the envelope closer. The paper scrapes softly across the wooden table, a small sound, but it feels like a crack splitting open. Inside is a stack of printed messages, photos, and a single handwritten note. The camera doesn't show the words, only Cooper's movements as he flips through them. His breath grows slower, heavier. One of the pages slips from his fingers and drifts to the floor. Rebecca watches, her silhouette still, her posture guarded.